So the first question is, what are the acts of worship a menstruating lady can engage in?
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. One of the most important things to understand here is not praying and not fasting during the state of menstruation. If it's done with the correct intention, it is an act of worship. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولِ. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran. So for a lady who's menstruating, um, the command is to not fast and to not pray. So if a lady intended this, it would be an act of worship and she'll get the reward. Like there are various hadith about, for example, the mu'adhin, when he calls the adhan, he gets a specific reward, and then whoever repeats those words gets the same reward. Men, when they go pray in the mosque, the ulama said that ladies get the same reward by praying at home. So sometimes intentions really, more than just compensate for actions, they in fact push a person beyond what they might usually get. So that intention should be the first thing in place. A lady should have this intention that I am not praying, I am not fasting because uh, God has commanded me not to. And so that's the first thing that's going to give reward, bring her reward. So the acts of worship that she can't do, she can't enter a mosque, she can't perform a tawaf, things that require wudu, right, or a ghusl. She can't recite the Quran, and she can't pray or fast. But anything beyond that, um, it's highly encouraged and very much recommended for her to, for example, to make dhikr. The recitation of the Quran requires a person to be in a state of tahara. So you don't need wudu for it, but you need to be outside of a state of janaba. But for the blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even a person in janaba is permitted to send blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you could just sit there saying, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wasallam, no problem. If you are reciting an act, if you're reciting, say, a wird, or like the wird of, say, Imam al-Haddad, I believe it's called al-wird al-Latif, or anything else, Hizb al-Bahr or something, that has verses of the Quran in, you may recite the wird, but approach it with the intention of dhikr. So when you come to a verse of the Quran in it, just keep it in your head, I'm making dhikr, and not, don't see as I'm reciting the Quran. So that's one thing to do. So any awrad, anything like that can be done. And so the ulama also recommend that when the prayer time comes, for the lady to, in order to remain in the habit of worship, that she makes a wudu. If she's physically able, sometimes it might just be too painful, but if she's physically able to make a wudu, go through the motions with water, and there's a reward in that. It won't be a valid wudu, but there's a reward in that. And then to just sit down and send some blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a few hundred, 200, take 10 minutes out, and doing so will maintain the flow of worship in her life. So that's one thing that's really important, just maintaining the flow of worship. But in any case, subhanallah, kalimatan khafifatani ala lisan, habibatani ila rahman. Yeah, so there's two sentences that are light on the tongue, the Prophet said, and thaqilatani fil mizani, and they're heavy on the scales, meaning there's a lot of reward for them. And and the beloved to the all merciful. What is it? Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanallahi al-azim. So when you say that, what you're saying is, I declare Allah's freedom from any sort of imperfection, subhanallah. He has no imperfections. Wa bihamdihi, and I declare that He's absolutely perfect, subhanallah al-azim. And I declare that Allah the tremendous has no flaws. So do as much as you can of that. Do 100 of those, and anything, any form of dhikr is beautiful at this time, right? And you'll get the reward of obedience to God and the extra reward of this worship. But there's nothing quite like the blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله